What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another SK Wealth Academy podcast. Welcome to all new subscribers. Thanks so much if you have subscribed recently, because the majority of people that watch my videos are not yet subscribed. So if that pertains to you, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell below. Also like and comment if you like this particular podcast. So today I am going to connect the dots between why it's so important for us to stand our ground when our freedoms are being stripped of us through other seemingly unrelated arenas, like with the whole pandemic and the economic lockdown, because this eventually translates into rampant criminality in financial markets that makes investing so much more difficult. And I know that these topics may not seem connected at all, but I am going to connect that. I also will drop a little gem somewhere in the middle of this. So if you cut out early, you're not going to hear the gem I'm going to drop that has to do with gold and silver price behavior. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do, which should be an interesting experiment, because it should be entirely irrelevant whether you agree, if you've watched my other previous videos, that this economic lockdown has more to do about controlling the monetary supply and wealth of the richest people on earth, making sure that they retain and build their wealth while they destroy millions of small businesses around the world, keep other people locked down to destroy their wealth. And this is really about money. Follow the money trail. And they're not at all about health. So even if you don't believe my narrative, and that's based upon, looking at the science of the virus, how it spreads, the mortality rates and whatnot, even if you are entirely on the opposite side of the spectrum, and that's understandable, because if you are listening to the mass media in your country, say you live in Canada, Australia, the United States, even the Netherlands, which I'm going to discuss in about a New York minute here, that there's a stronger narrative being pushed by the mass media of the necessity for economic lockdown. So it only makes sense, right? If you hear this 24/7 for the last 6 consecutive months or 10 consecutive months, because they've been selling this since like around February or March, so maybe the last eight months or so, that it's natural, human nature. You're going to believe what you hear. So I'm just going to review, for example, if you are a fan of sports, of the NFL in the United States, only because this just happened this past week, there was a quarterback for the New England Patriots, who's like this NFL team, football team, U.S. football team that's won multiple Super Bowls. And so he's the starting quarterback, and they said he contracted the virus. So he could not play this weekend. So I found this video, and I wanted to see the reaction, because I know that the US mass media has been going hard on selling the dangerous nature of this virus. So let me just read you some of these reactions, and you'll see what this social experiment is going. Okay, so I'm just going to look at the first 20 or 30 comments. It says, "This could be a disaster for the league." Fits right in with the narrative, right? Here's someone that just wrote, sometimes people write in comment sections on YouTube, just trying to make a joke. This guy said, "Gordon Ramsay, what are you? NFL, an idiot sandwich." Again, they're saying that the NFL are idiots for playing this season because of this dangerous virus, right? Next comment says, "Get well soon, Cam." Again, the quarterback's name's Cam Newton. Again, implying that he's even has symptoms. I didn't even see a story whether or not he has symptoms. I doubt he has symptoms, because he's an elite athlete. So he'll probably get over this as quickly as people get over a common cold, or he is most likely completely asymptomatic. Let's see what else. There's definitely going to be more athletes that end up testing positive, especially since college football and the NFL season has started. It's a close contact sport. Everyone's in close proximity to each other, blah, 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 blah. So again, this person has totally bought into the soaring infection rates, right? But even though that the mortality rates have been going way down, he's bought into this narrative. It's dangerous because infection rates are going up. Of course, if you release lockdowns, people are going to mingle, more people are going to be infected. But does not mean it's dangerous, especially since the majority of affected people are asymptomatic. Here's someone that brings religion into it. The Most High is trying to tell you all these things you think are important really aren't at all. No, this has nothing to do with God trying to tell us that football is not important because this virus is not dangerous. There's this person, again, you can tell that he's bought into the whole danger, Will Robinson factor of this virus because he's, saying that this virus is so dangerous that nobody should be playing football. They can all be playing football without wearing any face masks, without like having the coaches be these stupid compliant robots on the sideline wearing their face masks, and the players too when they're on break. So let's see. Well, here's one person that actually gets it. He says the whole thing is a joke, and I'm assuming that he understands what's up, so that's why he said this whole story is a joke. Here's someone who said, we're praying for you, Cam. God healed me from a severe case. He will do the same for you. Again, someone that's buying into the severity of this. I wonder what other comorbidities this person had if he had a severe case, or he could have just had a severe case of the flu because the fear has been so heightened. I've had severe cases of the flu in the past where I felt like I was going to die. So if I got this and my fear levels were elevated because that's all they sell in the mass media, and it was just a common flu, I would think, oh my God, I almost died from this pandemic of virus, when that wouldn't have been the case at all. So again, NFL will not last through the season over, go home, blah 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 blah. So for the most part, here's one person again that's enlightened COVID is being overblown. So, but most the overwhelming number of these comments are just repeating the narratives that's been force-fed down their throats by the mass media in the United States. So here's the interesting thing. Okay, so then I went to one of the top YouTube channels for Dutch news in the Netherlands, because as you know, the Netherlands really, they locked down a little bit, but they were pretty much open, didn't require face masks even on subways, didn't require social distancing. Now they're saying, oh, there's a second wave, now they want people to wear face masks. So I wanted to go and see. This video is dated, this news story is dated September 29th. I wanted to see how Dutch people were reacting to this. And of course, I don't read Dutch, or I shouldn't say of course, I mean, no one knows what languages I read, but I don't read Dutch. So I just basically took the top 20 comments, and I'll read maybe 10 of them, and I translated them using online translator. Hopefully, the translations will be pretty good. So now apparently this video is about the necessity to socially distance, that Dutch people should wear face masks. And here are the comments from the Dutch people, okay? They say, then I'll go and buy myself an over-the-top gas mask. If we do walk around like clowns, then, we should be as clownish as possible. Okay, the name of this particular news channel was RTL Netherlands, and I think that's one of the big, at least when I looked up online, it says one of the biggest news channels in the Netherlands. So this person wrote, RTL is shadow banning like hell, mountains of reactions. The scientific truth apparently should not be told to their flock of indoctrinated sheep. And then this person wrote 3M gas and vapor masks, blah 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 blah. I guess he's given the serial numbers for the ones that filter out everything, and then he says the rest is false security. And the next person wrote, most of the Dutch population are traitors, people who are so cowardly and afraid of a flu they would report their neighbors when they have visitors. They are NSB people, and hopefully a lot of these people go underground, so we solve the traffic jam problem in one fell swoop. It's because they take programs like the NOS seriously, too stupid to think for themselves, blindly take everything from state propaganda channels. I don't know what NSB or NOS stands for. It says they're NSB people, take programs like the NOS too seriously. Maybe a Dutch person, if you're watching this, you can tell me what those acronyms stand for, NSB and NOS. Another person says who? I guess there's a professor in this video saying, speaking the necessity to wear face masks now in the Netherlands. He said, Mr's only been a professor at the university for 9 months, has a startup. We're dealing here with the manufacturer of mouth masks. So he was saying this professor was pitching the necessity to wear face masks because he's invested in a face mask company, and then he provides a source. Okay, and then maybe I'll read one more. It says, because they all are very much anti-lockdown measures, where, so this person said, why should information be withheld from us? This person wrote a book. I'm not sure I'm going to read this whole thing. From the start, we do not receive information about the number of active infections or only a small amount of what is in the RIVM. I don't know what that stands for. RIVM sample, and numbers are mentioned that do not come from confirmed infections. I actually would guess, if I had to guess, the RIVM is the acronym for the Dutch Public Health Agency. And it says, while in April it's already clear with the donor blood test that there is 20 times more under the radar than what is in the RIVM sample, blah, 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 blah. They know exactly how many people are in the sample, how many are under the radar, but with 20 times under the radar, we have 720,000 active infections in the Netherlands. We have not yet talked about the T cells test, which almost 4 months ago showed that 10 to 30% of the Dutch people have been in contact with the virus, which could be 33 to 100 times as much as the sample, which 100 times would indicate there were 13.5 million people have been in contact with the virus, and a good part of the Dutch would already have resistance to the virus. And if you see that the number of admissions remains so low, again, because they're selling the danger in the Dutch mass media by the number of infections. But this guy's focusing on what should be focused upon. How many people are actually being admitted to the hospitals? He said intensive care admissions remain low. And he said there's not a word of the buildup of immunity system or herd immunity because it does not come across as nice. Blah, 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 blah. Information is withheld from us. And so that's actually only half of his post. So he goes on, he's basically just spouting facts and science that goes against the level of the economic lockdown that is happening. So the whole point of me telling this story was that depending upon what we're told, this is exactly what we believe. So I'm not even saying one side is right, the other side is wrong, right? It's just, you can see that almost 100% of Dutch people believe the exact opposite of what almost 100% of what Americans believe. And it's all due to where we source our information from. So that is a really important takeaway point, because we have to always research independent news sources to really get to the bottom of the truth. And then in the NFL, again, the added things they're going to add because of this quarterback that tested positive. Didn't even say if he had any symptoms. Like I said, I bet you he's completely asymptomatic. They said they're going to require a longer process for free agent tryouts. They're limiting the number of tryouts per week. Ban on gatherings, no gatherings outside the club facility among teammates. They implement a video monitoring system, surveillance system to ensure compliance, that everyone's socially distancing, everyone's wearing face. See what this is doing? This, again, is feeding into that compliance narrative. They're using these big sports organizations to condition compliance into the general population in America, because they're saying, oh, look, if the healthiest, most elite athletes in the world have to wear masks, they can't, socialize, then we shouldn't either, because our immune systems aren't as good as theirs, and if they are being locked down like this by their commissioner, we should. It's all about conditioning, and that NFL is being used as a tool by the ruling class to condition everyone into further compliance. And what else? They said all meetings they're going to recommend become virtual, that everyone should wear masks or shields during practices. Well, can you imagine? Okay, so then these sports videos start being uploaded online of NFL players, and they're all wearing masks and shields during practices. Is this going to increase the level of compliance in the general population in America? And then the good thing is, okay, I've been talking about a lot of protests in Madrid, Spain. Okay, so they said, again, they're locking down again. not because of severe cases of infections, not because of higher number of admissions to hospitals, not because of higher mortality rates in Spain, but only because of a higher infection rates. So they said 4.8 million Madrid residents will be barred from leaving the area Friday evening, making it the first European capital to back into lockdown again. And the new restrictions to start at 10 p.m. So not as strict as previous lockdowns where people were banned from leaving their homes. However, authorities advise residents not to move around unless absolutely necessary. Gatherings of more than 6 people remain banned indoors and outdoors, which again is ridiculous, right? Why more than 6 people? Why can 5? So the virus only knows how many people are gathering around each other. So 5 people is okay. 6, no, actually more than 6 people. So 6 people is okay. Virus won't infect anyone if it's only a gathering of 6. But once you go to 7, the virus is going to spread around to everyone. So it's so ridiculous. But this is what's really good. So this is actually a federal mandate at the national level. But the Madrid region chief, Isabel Diaz Ayuso, rejected the mandate, saying that the national authorities had no legal authority to impose another lockdown without consensus. And she said, you cannot lock down everyone. I'm sure the Madrid region plan is the best quick test quarantines, and life goes on. So this is good. So there's a regional, unlike the exact opposite that's happening in Victoria, where Daniel, whatever his last name is, the premier's locking everyone down. This regional chief is fighting back against the national mandates that she finds ridiculous. And she said she would even challenge the health ministry order in courts to keep life going on as usual. And okay, so I'm gonna pause for a second to tell you about the gold and silver. So go read. I just uploaded on my new site, malamalama.com/WordPress. I'll put that link in the show notes below. An article in which I looked at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange issues and stops report, which basically shows how the bullion banks are the issues of stopping means that you're holding futures contracts like in gold and silver long, and stopping basically means that you ask for delivery of the warrant that gives you the right to possess that physical gold and physical silver. So it shows you how much physical gold and silver they are, although it doesn't mean they're moving that physical gold and silver out of the COMEX warehouses. It could still be stored there, but they have the paper warrant that gives them the right to that physical gold and silver. And basically showed that within the past 2 months, due to a couple incidences in which gold and silver prices in the futures markets, in fact just one this past week, and ongoing right now, dropped a lot. They use these opportunities in which they artificially manufacture these rapid price drops to buy more physical gold and physical silver through the futures markets. So the one thing is that they have clawed back. They had tremendous amount of loss of physical gold and physical silver at the start of the year, and they've clawed back a tremendous amount. In gold, it was well over 700,000 ounces. In silver, it was over, I believe, 7 million ounces. You can see the exact stats. I'm going from my memory. I think my memory is usually pretty good, so I think it's over 7 million ounces of silver, and they clawed back over 700. I think it was close to 750,000, over 750,000 or so ounces of gold. So for those of you that worried, gold's going to go back down to 1,500, silver's going to go back to $16, $17 an ounce. No, it's not. It's not, because if that were the case, then these big bullion banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Scotia Macau, they all wouldn't be clawing back in the physical markets to trying to take more delivery of physical gold and silver through their futures contracts. I mean, the only reason they'd be clawing back so much physical gold and physical silver ounces is if they believe that the price trend in the long term is still going to be higher. Okay, so let's move on. So the horrible thing, for this, and is that we all tend to just believe what we're told. Like another thing that I want to address real quickly is like Elon Musk, right? Because Elon Musk has this cult of personality status. I don't know why Tesla's still selling at $430 a share. It should be more like $30 a share, because it's one of the worst run, worst managed companies run by one of the worst people in the world. I know people love Elon Musk because he's gone on certain podcasts and people say, oh, you're this genius, the most, like, you actually would have to be an idiot because he gets billions of dollars of subsidies, which are basically government, like corporate welfare handouts of billions of dollars every year. In first 18 years of operation, Tesla only had, I believe, 3 profitable quarters, meaning that they, made a profit in 3 quarters out of the first like 50, 60 quarters of operation. And so they're like a poorly run company. And the only reason is that they were preferred Momo stock of all these Momo traders and of all the HFT algorithmic firms that love Tesla, drove it way up. But if, that share price was basically was based upon operate, because if you look, Tesla's even a crappy car. There's so many instances, so many Reddit channels where they talk about people buying the Model Y and finding gaps in like finding poor builds, misaligned body panels, gaps of how the car is put together, problems with the paint application not being uniform, all kinds of crappy quality control problems with Teslas all over the place. And then someone just this past week named Nathaniel at Nathan IO 499 2006 said, hey, Elon Musk, why didn't you tell us that Tesla sells convertibles now? Because the roof of our brand new Model Y fell off on the highway. So he posted a video. He was just basically driving a brand new Model Y right off of the dealership, the Tesla dealership, and the glass roof, no, it wasn't a convertible, glass roof flew off. So you know how dangerous that is? How about that glass roof like smashed into another car? Could have killed someone. So this is how kind of crappy the build, and Tesla still has this cult of personality, Tesla fanboys that love him and keep saying Elon Musk is a genius. And Elon Musk probably isn't even really that good of a person, because, recently, he had that famous tweet because he had a meeting with the new Bolivian president that committed regime change, that overthrew Evo Morales, who had to flee the country at the end of last year because of the fact that, and Evo Morales basically said there was a coup against him because they wanted a right-wing leader in there who would open up Bolivia's lithium reserves, because Evo Morales was all about nationalization, right? Nationalization of their gas and oil reserves, nationalization of all their rare earth metals like lithium. But he said the West wanted a right-wing leader in there. And then Elon Musk, because people say, hey, Tesla, you getting your lithium from Bolivia? So, because why did you meet with that leader that now is the new president, the new coup? And he responded, he wrote a tweet saying, we will coup whoever we want, deal with it. Now, a lot of people said he was just joking, like he was just being an ass and joking, and he probably was, right? But here's the question, because he said, in follow up, he said, hey, we don't even get our lithium from Australia. From Bolivia, we get it from Australia. But the question is, right, because it's just opening up these lithium mines in Bolivia. If Tesla sources their lithium from Bolivia in the future, then that makes him a horrible person, because he's basically supporting regime change just to get the components he needs to build Teslas. And not only that's not the first time people accuse Tesla of sourcing minerals that they need to build their cars and doing horrible things from a humanitarian perspective. There were 14 kids that died mining cobalt in the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. And they said 6 were killed in tunnel collapses because a lot of these cobalt mining operations are illegal. They're not even they're not even authorized. They don't have the proper permits, proper mining licenses. They're sending children to mine this. They said others suffered life-altering injuries like permanent paralysis. And so there was a class action lawsuit filed on behalf of 14 families of these children that were hurt mining cobalt against Tesla, was one, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Dell. Okay, so they said because cobalt is one of the prime metals, prime exports of the DRC, and all those big tech companies source their cobalt from the DRC that is well known for exploiting child labor in very dangerous situations. Like I said, in cobalt mines that aren't even properly licensed, properly built, they collapse all the time, they kill kids, and people, they say, well, they don't know about the fact that they're using. If I know about it, then how come the CEOs of these companies don't know about it? And even if they didn't know about it, it's their job to know about it. If they're sourcing a good deal of cobalt from these illegal child exploitative mining operations, exactly one of the reasons that the U.S. military is still in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan has a treasure trove of over $1 trillion worth of gold, silver, rare earth metals. But apparently they're in areas that are still highly controlled by ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or whatever the name of the terrorist groups that have infiltrated Afghanistan are. I think it's Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. So they're going to have a really hard time building the mines there. But, they're still trying. So in any event, that's the reason I wanted to make this particular SK Wealth Academy blog is because, and I started it out, right? I'm going to connect the dots, right? I started it out saying that we have to stand for what is right. We can't be so cowardly that we, just give in, because it's really hard as a singular person, right? Because say in the UK where Boris Johnson said he's going to fine you 10,000 pounds, equivalent of 13,000 US dollars. Most people have been out of work for 8-9 months, so they can't afford a 13,000 or 10,000 pound fine, right? If they don't comply with these totalitarian, draconian, ridiculous lockdowns due to what they say is a second wave, where the mortality rates are going down, but only infections are going up to this non-dangerous virus, right? So if I understand why one person wouldn't want to do it, but if we all stand together, if 500,000 people go out in the city of London, are they going to arrest 500,000 people? They could try to arrest 500,000 people, but what if the 500,000 people beat up the cops? Are they going to keep trying to, or what are they going to do? Are they going to murder 500,000 people? I mean, sometimes, that this is the kind of unity that has to be done to break this compliance, because if you give a centimeter, they will take a kilometer. If you give a kilometer, they will take 1,000 kilometers. And this is what is going on because of our compliance to these lockdowns. That is why we are seeing all this rampant criminality, like the one I talked about with exploitative child labor, where they don't care if these 11, 10-year-old kids are dying. That's what happens. These criminals get bold because they say, hey, look, we tell them to do something for their own good, and they're not even courageous enough to stand up to this nonsense. So we'll just commit crime everywhere. And it also bleeds over into the financial markets, because and maybe I'll upload one of the long format, because my patrons at $5 a month, they get 2 long format podcasts that run anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour each. And then they get 4 to 6 videos, daily videos every single week that run in length anywhere from 4 minutes to 10 minutes each. And then a couple only articles every other month, only for patrons, right? So it's a whole slew of benefits just for $5. But I might upload one of these if people want to hear, because I've never done it yet. But there's too much value still in the one I just uploaded for October. So maybe I'll let a little time pass, but you can still see the value that you would have received at the time that I put these podcasts out, because I'll put the date that I released it, and then you can go listen to it and say, oh, that would have been so helpful if I knew that back then. But in any event, sometimes I talk about options trading strategies, and I told my patrons, hey, it's not like before. You got to do a little more work to make your profits, because sometimes you'll be in and then you'll be out that same day, intraday trading maybe a couple of hours later, because there's so much volatility in the prices of these stocks that even if it goes down, sometimes it will go up, and you want to limit your risk to very low percentage of losses and any open put option strategy, so you just want to sell immediately. But then if it, I give my patrons certain price levels, if it drops back below, then you got to open it back up. And I said, I know it's a pain, so you got to watch it for the first 3 or 4 days, because it might go up and down over this price level. So you might have to go in and out a couple times before you can hold on for a few days and then make your profits. So The reason that we see all this, again, all this price volatility we didn't see in the past is because, again, bankers see the fact that no one is concerned about their liberties and freedom. No one's standing up for what the right thing to do is against these economic lockdowns. So why should they stop their criminality in the financial markets? It actually causes more, and I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, oh, that's not related. It is exactly related. Because, again, they see that people are so cowardly as a group that won't stand up for what is right in one area of life, that they take advantage of us in another area of life, like in the financial markets. They'll just go wild with their criminality and manipulating prices up and down in stock markets, up and down in gold and silver, and the commodities markets and the futures markets. And even though, again, right now, Deutsche Bank bankers have been convicted of spoofing gold markets. There's JP Morgan bankers that are now under trial for spoofing. They're still spoofing gold markets, even though the Department of Justice. Why? Because they look at our cowardice and they say, hey, you know what? We can probably push back, even though we've been indicted. We could probably push back and work out some kind of plea bargain where we won't even have to serve any prison sentence. And we'll just, give $1 billion. Who cares? We raped all these retail investors and institutional investors that were on the opposite side of our trades on the gold and silver futures markets for tens of billions of dollars. So who cares if we get fined like $900 million? I think, like I read that one of these big institutions got, I don't know if it was JP Morgan. I think it was JP Morgan. Who cares? They don't care because they're making tens of billions of dollars and they see there's no repercussions for their criminality. But if we held them to repercussions for their criminal enforcement of, say, these lockdowns, they would say, hey, the people are going to fight back. So maybe we can, just keep doing the systemic rampant criminality in the financial markets. I'm telling you, it's all connected. We give them a couple centimeters in one arena of life, they're going to take a kilometer in another arena of life. So that is why we have to stand for what is right. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I don't know. Nobody's commenting recently on these videos. Do you agree with me that when we willingly give up our freedom and liberties and do not stand up for justice in one arena of life, that it bleeds over to other arenas of life, like the financial markets? And that's why, we see rampant criminality and nothing being done since 2008. All the things that came out in 2008, the bankers have just elevated it, and they've gone extra hard in committing the exact same criminality today. So, things are not even getting, they're getting worse than they were in 2008. So let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching. Always remain intensely curious, and more importantly, always remain immensely courageous. Okay, bless up everyone.